if we're talking big men, I think we need to bring in our resident big man one, Mr. Kendrick Perkins, because, Perk, AD, he was your preseason MVP. We saw your whole list. We don't need to dig back into that ballot all over again. But, sir, do you have a big list of big men for us? Where does AD fall on that list?
Well, let the big fella take the mic for a minute and represent for the big. So, look, going at number 5, right? I'm going my top 5 bigs over the last 5 games who have been showing up and showing out. At number 5, I'm going with Bam, down the South Beach, them goons from Dade County. He has elevated his game tremendously, averaging over 27 points per game, doing his thing. I was critical of him. He's rose to the occasion. Then we got to go down to the big Philly, Joel Embiid, out there handing people those 40 pieces on the regular. All flats, spicy. Or do they have Philly cheesesteaks? Maybe we should go with Philly cheesesteaks on that one. Number 3 on our list, we can't disrespect and go away from Big Jokic. Yes, he's been quiet. We haven't been talking about him, but he's still putting up 25 and 12 a night with the dimes. Team Whack Body. He must be on the list. He represents for guys like myself.
Team Whack Body.
And then number 2, bring it on. Here we go. Greek freak, Giannis Antetokounmpo, dominating, a walking 30, 12 a night, the most dominant player in the NBA. Who said you need skills when you got Giannis Antetokounmpo snatching the screws out the rim every single time down the court? Number one, run it. That's enough for Giannis. Number 1, here we go. Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. in the building. I'm mad I went away from him on my MVP pick, but he's showing up, he's showing out, he representing in great fashion. They making the emphasis to run the offense through him, and he's giving everybody that work. So here's my list right now over the bigs that's been balling over the last couple of days, or should I say week or so. Big man are in the building. Here's
the deal. Well, we're not going to dive into the fact that Anthony Davis wasn't on your MVP list when we talked about it last week, and Giannis was, and now Anthony Davis over. Because now you got my wheels turning. I'm wondering where he is on your MVP list. But I'm going to put a pin in that for 1 second because you weren't the only one calling for more assertiveness from Anthony Davis. This was from our show last week.
Anthony Davis being Anthony Davis, Alpha Dog 1, the go-to guy. And it must continue to be that way, in my opinion, for the Lakers to continue to have success. We already know LeBron can take over games whenever he wants, but he has to remain patient. Allow Anthony Davis to be this guy that he's being, because he's dominating on the glass. He's dominating in the paint. He's getting guys involved. He's doing it all. And he was doing that when LeBron James was out. And my question was, can they do it together? Can they coexist together? And we're seeing him right now take over and keeping that mentality. Keep that mentality, big dog. See what happens.
I mean, ask and you shall receive. Vince Carter,
Keep
Ramona
that mentality,
Shelburne,
big dog.
Richard Jefferson. Vince, I mean, you asked for it. Now that you've seen Anthony Davis assert himself a little bit more, has this changed how you're thinking about the ceiling for this Lakers team?
I mean, it changes the ceiling for sure. It gives them an opportunity because they're doing it the right way. Guys are sacrificing for the good of the team. We said Russell Westbrook has done his part, so we can't talk about Russell Westbrook. Now it's time to allow Anthony Davis to be Anthony Davis. He's done his part. Now it's time to LeBron James. Can you allow Anthony Davis to be that dog he's becoming? And he is becoming the big dog on campus. And I like for what AD is doing is he's asserted himself by developing the mentality, the killer mentality, by going into the post, mid-range first, then working your way out to the finesse game. And I think that develops the mentality earlier, like, I'm going to kill. And that's where 55 points, that's where it's coming, like 64.8% field goal shooting. Like, that's where that comes from, by developing the right mentality early in the game. And then you can go from where, and the world's your oyster after that.
Well, Richard, when Perk was talking, you were smiling and nodding and maybe even agreeing a little bit with Kevin?
No, Perk sometimes he will take the layup. Yes. He will take the layup versus he's like, well, Anthony Davis has been the best big man in basketball. It's like, thanks, Perk. The list was on point compared to last week, but this is what I want to say, right? This is what I want to say. What Anthony Davis has done is what the Lakers have always needed. This has always been the plan. Now, I'm not even talking about the 55s and the 44s. We're talking about just dominance on both ends of the floor. Being in forget the defensive player of the year race. He has the talent to be an MVP candidate. For long before he ever showed up in a Laker uniform, he was a top 5 talent.
Yeah.
He was a quote unquote fringe of being a top 5 player. He had been first team all NBA. And since the championship, he had completely regressed. Now, the guys that he had regressed, it was Jokic, it was Giannis, and it was Embiid. There are 3 MVPs between that group, and then Embiid was runner-up 2 of those years. So it was like those guys had set themselves apart. Anthony Davis is doing everything that everyone believes he can do to get back to that level of being an MVP candidate and one of the top 5 to 10 players in this league.
Well, and that's what the Lakers are going to need if they want to achieve the playoffs, let alone a championship, which is what we all know when this roster was constructed, what they aspire to. But when you're looking at Anthony Davis's play, Ramona, I'm thinking about the health issues he's had in the past. What happened behind the scenes that has gone into him being able to take this step forward?
I mean, when he's had this lower back injury all year long, and he's finally feeling better. And when you have a lower back injury, you just don't move as well. He wasn't getting into the paint with purpose. And now, look at those highlights we just played. When he's rolling with purpose. His teammates are looking for him. How many alley-oops did you show where he was getting up above the rim? When your lower back is hurting, you tend to float and you don't roll with purpose. He is aggressive now, and they are looking for him. The Lakers are also doing an incredible job of taking care of the ball. What do we talk about the first week of the season? Shooting too many threes, not making hardly any of them, and not taking care of the ball. Last 3 games, 26 turnovers in 3 games. 3 games, that's a game for a team.
When the league has been putting an emphasis, as we've seen, on calling turnovers, that's incredibly impressive. The Lakers 8-2 over these last 10 games. I mean, if they can keep this up, watch out. This is good.
Hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports here. Let's talk about Anthony Davis. Lakers have been on a hot streak. You know, it's hard to believe after the 2-10 start, but they are on an absolute hot streak, and you have to, you know, give it all to AD. I know it's a team effort. LeBron did his thing. Westbrook does his thing. The whole organization, the rotating players, the role players, they all help out. But Anthony Davis, like yesterday against the Wizards, I think he scored 55 points. 55 points, more than 45% of the team's points he got. He was just insane. Guy was just blocking shots, playing D, dunking 3 points. It's unbelievable what he was doing. And I think the night before he had 40 something. So this guy is just unbelievable. Which leads me to the next question. Would you consider Anthony Davis to be in the MVP conversation? If you ask me, now I'm a Lakers fan, if you ask me, I'd say not yet. And the reason why I say not yet is because we all know Anthony Davis, his health is not up to par with the rest. All it takes is for a little thing and he's injured, right? His back always, he always gets back spasms here and there, like who doesn't? But to be MVP, you have to be consistent. And I just feel that Luka is a lot more consistent, and Jason Tatum is a lot more consistent. So the top 2 for MVP I would consider as Jason Tatum and Luka. Anthony Davis is making his case, but it's too early to tell because he's not consistent enough. I know he's been consistent in the last 7 games, 8 games, 9 games, but you got to do that throughout the entire season. And you know, the first 10 games he was not that consistent, you know, with 20 something points here and there, but now he has been. So if he continues on this path of dominance, because we all know Anthony Davis in the last 9 games has been incredibly dominant. If he continues this, then yeah, you know, I would consider him in the MVP conversation. But right now, there's not enough evidence of that because, you know, it's too early, A. B, his health status, I don't know how it's going to hold up. And C, can this level of dominance by Anthony Davis be sustainable throughout the entire season? You know, so that's my question to you guys. Is Anthony Davis in the MVP conversation? Can he be in the MVP conversation? That is something that I want to pose a question to you guys. Leave a comment in the comment section. This is Jag from Jaggy Sports.